Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be talking about more lost media in a collection of 5 separate cases. So let's begin. Prior to the creation of Minecraft in 2009 by Swedish game developer Marcus Persson, known online as Notch, there was a previous game created by him, known as RubyDung. RubyDung was much more inspired by Dwarf Fortress compared to the game Infiniminer, which served as the main source of inspiration for Minecraft. This game featured an isometric plane of view instead of the first-person plane of view that Minecraft most famously has. We only have 5 screenshots of the game, which show us various forested hills and green landscapes. Now, the grass and stone textures featured in RubyDung were later reused for the original grass and cobblestone textures featured in Minecraft. Now, we first learned about the game on October 30th, 2009, when on his Tumblr account, The Word of Notch, he made a post called The Origins of Minecraft, where he spoke about RubyDung. Now, RubyDung has never had an official public release, not even a leak, and this game was most likely developed prior to 2009, and it's highly unlikely Marcus Persson has that game still lying around there somewhere in his multi-million-dollar mansion, and most likely lost to the ages. Number 2, The Return of Donkey Kong. The Return of Donkey Kong was meant to be a sequel to the popular arcade game franchise Donkey Kong, which began in 1981 with Donkey Kong. It was first mentioned in 1987 in the official Nintendo Player's Guide. Its second mention was in early 1988 in the 5th issue of Nintendo Player's Guide. The third and final mention of the game was in May of 1988 in that month's issue of Computer Entertainer. Now, from the information we've been able to gather from these 3 mentions of the game, you, the player, would play as Donkey Kong, and you'd be the one throwing the barrels. I specifically state that it was a new adventure where you would be in control of Donkey Kong, and you would be one jumping over them, you'd be one throwing them. Now, this game never released, and many people believe that this game possibly was actually Donkey Kong Classics, a compilation of the various Donkey Kong games released in October of 1988, which would line up with its last mention being in May. But it wouldn't make sense for them to call a new adventure saying you take control of Donkey Kong, though in its 1982 sequel, Donkey Kong Jr., you play as Donkey Kong's son, Donkey Kong Jr., but it seems strange that it would advertise as a new adventure. It seems kind of strange. Some think it could even be an early version of Donkey Kong Country, but we know from various sources that Donkey Kong Country didn't start development until in the 1990s and was developed by Rare. And it's highly unlikely that this is where it started. There would have been some kind of mention in Donkey Kong Country's history that it went back to the 1980s on the NES under The Return of Donkey Kong. That does sound like something that they would just leave out for some reason. Number 3, the original version of Please Please Me. Please Please Me was the second single by the English rock band The Beatles, released on January 11th, 1963, and was the follow-up single to their October 1962 single, Love Me Do. This was a bigger success than their previous single, Love Me Do, which was itself a big success. Now, if you don't know me personally, which I doubt many of you do, well, I'm sort of a big Beatles fan, I guess you could say, Yeah. Now, thing is, that single was recorded on November 26, 1962. But the thing is, before the version that was released was recorded, an earlier version was recorded. And this version has never seen the light of day. The original version that the Beatles recorded was much more slower, bluesy, and was heavily inspired by Roy Orbison, an American artist remembered for his hit single, Oh Pretty Woman, alongside a variety of other singles. Now, this version lacked the harmonica prominent in the single version and had no backing vocals from George Harrison or Paul McCartney. It was a slow, bluesy song with only Lennon on the vocals. Now, after this version was recorded and taped, George Martin, their producer, decided to change it up and make it more upbeat, leading to the version that we have today, but much more upbeat toned in tempo. Faster. This song, it was recorded to be faster in tempo, the version we all know today. Addition of the harmonica, which likely carried over because of Love Me Do featuring the harmonica, and of course, backing vocals from McCartney and Harrison. Now, an earlier version of Please Please Me has been released. So this version of Please Please Me is the upbeat version with the faster tempo, just missing the harmonica. So this version was recorded after the slower, bluesy version of Please Please Me, inspired by Roy Orbison. And this early version, of only Lennon on vocals, has never surfaced ever, and most likely doesn't exist anymore, as common practice back then is that you would throw out, not use takes, dump them in the trash to wipe the tapes to be reused later on. So it's highly likely, especially given how early on it was in the band's history, this only being their second single, that likely they just simply threw it out or wiped the tape, and just simply doesn't exist anymore. But since this other version of Please Please Me exists, it's not impossible that this version also exists, but it is very unlikely. Number 4, Lost Books of the Bible. Now, the Bible is a book that serves as the main source of doctrine for Christianity and covers the creation of the world according to the Christian beliefs and various events of history and things that happen and important people and figures within the religion, spanning, of course, across the course of about 6 to 10,000-ish years, as that's about, if you were to take it literally, it'd be about 6 to 10,000 years ago, everything been around for. Now, there are some books in the Bible, as the book is not separated into chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, but it's rather separated into books. And some of these books are numbered, some of these books are not, but each of these different books have names like Ezekiel, Daniel, stuff like that. Now, like I said, there are lost books in the Bible. One of these is the Book of the Wars of the Lord. Now, this book is mentioned in Numbers 21:14, and alongside that, there's also a mention of a letter by Paul, an apostle, which was written before Coronations 1 and 2, and this has been, of course, been referred to as, of course, Corinthians 0, as this we know predates Corinthians 1 and 2. But this and the Book of the Wars of the Lord are lost. You can't find them anywhere. Alongside that, there's also the books of Nathan and Gad, which are mentioned in 1 Chronicles 29:29. All of these books and the Corinthians 0 letter by Paul are gone. They're not included in the Bible, any version of the Bible you can find in stores, and are considered part of the canon because they're not in the Bible, and are generally considered to be lost to time. The Bible was written several thousand years ago in the age of antiquity, in times of scrolls and letters and scribes, where everything had to be manually written over and over to be transferred. So these books are likely lost forever, as of course, so we won't exactly ever know what could be inside the Book of the Wars of the Lord, what's inside the books of Nathan and Gad, because they're lost, you can't read them. There could be some big stuff in there, but you wouldn't know. Now on to our last one, number 5. Number 5, Helter Skelter, Take 3. Helter Skelter is a song by the English rock band, The Beatles. Now, Take 3 has been a very, very, very big interest of the fandom ever since we learned about it. Now, Helter Skelter is generally considered to be the first ever heavy metal song due to the sheer intensity and aggressiveness of the song, and it was featured in their 1968 album, The Beatles, though it's been colloquially known as the White Album, due to only featuring a white background and cover with no other text or images besides just the word The Beatles written on it. And Helter Skelter is also known to have inspired the Manson family murders of Shannon Tate, her husband, and a variety of other people, as it was believed by their leader Charles Manson that Helter Skelter, alongside a variety of other Beatles songs like Revolution and Piggies, foretold a prophecy, and that the Beatles themselves were the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and that there was to be a race war between the African American population and the Caucasian population, and that him and his followers would find a bunker out deep into the desert and ride out this apocalyptic war between these two races, and in the end would kill off the remaining people, and start anew again up above. And Charles Manson wanted to start this race war, which is why he killed Shannon. Why he directed his followers to go out and kill Shannon Tate, her husband, and a variety of other people. And in blood, they wrote words like piggies and Helter Skelter, though they did misspell it, as it is spelled HELTER SKELTER. Now, the reason why they wrote piggies, not just because of the song, but also cops at the time were beginning to be referred to as pigs due to groups like the Black Panthers, an African American civil rights group. Now, Helter Skelter Take 3, the song that all inspired this, is notable and exceptional in the fandom because it is 27 minutes and 11 seconds long, and is known to be a very slow, droning, heavy, and jam-like version compared to the version that we have today. Now, a wide variety of other takes and variations of the song do exist, and we actually have another take of the song from later on in the day, but we don't have take 3. And people in the Beatles fandom have been clamoring and begging for its release. If you go online on subreddit, you can find people just wanting the release of the song. As of course, we want to hear what's on it. It's 27 minutes long and 11 seconds, which would make it the longest Beatles song out there. We want to know what it is. We know that it's very slow and heavy, which if you look at the other versions of Helter Skelter recorded at the time, fits. It wasn't until much later on in the recording of the White Album that it became this aggressive, intense, heavy metal song that we know it as today. Early version was more blues-like, it's slower, and this would fit given the timeline, but due to how long it is, we want to hear what's on. We want to hear what's on such a long song. It might be, just a jamming, but it's still Helter Skelter, and yet it has still refused to be released by Apple Records. The people who own the Beatles music from that time, who own the Beatles music, has yet to be released, despite the anniversary editions and deluxe editions of the White Album that released over the years, containing all these different variations of Helter Skelter, all these outtakes, and even the release of the extra demos and everything else. So Take 3 has yet to be released, and the Beatles fans are still waiting quietly for the release of Helter Skelter Take 3 to see what's on that 27-minute and 11-second version of Helter Skelter. So this has been even more lost media set into 5 case files. So I'll see you all around sometime later on. So bye, have a nice time.